Okay, hi. So I'm gonna talk about session 9. I just watched it earlier today, and I wanna put out a disclaimer. There's obviously any spoilers, but also I don't know like movies in the sense of like if you're here to see me talking about the composition, the art, and the colors. No, I watch a lot of movies. I really love horror movies, and that's just gonna be my opinion. And I don't want to create any false expectations. So basically, let's just get to it, I guess. Okay, so I honestly stumbled upon this movie because I follow a Twitter account basically that talks about horror movies, and they wanted to showcase underwatched horror movies, and this was one of it. And so I read the description, and I was like, you know what, I'm for it. I'm actually gonna read the description that they actually put, and I'm also gonna link the Twitter account because I feel like if you like horror, then you know. Basically, its tension rises within an asbestos cleaning crew as they work in an abandoned mental hospital with a horrific past seems to be coming back. Now, obviously, when I read that, and then when I saw the trailer, and when the movie started, I genuinely thought that it was going to be something very like supernatural. Like I thought it was going to go that route. Obviously, yes, the pacing of the movie is a bit slow, but honestly, it didn't bother me. It kept me kind of paying attention. Um, it always had me thinking like, is this gonna be like, because they at the beginning when they showcase and they say like, oh, this is where they did lobotomies, this is where they basically dunked mental health patients into cold baths of water so they would calm down. In the A wing, that's where the most psychotic patients were, and the fact that they talked how they had like 2,400 patients and they dumped them in the street. All these little things. I was like, well, I get it. They're gonna be resentful. Like, is it they're gonna be like evil spirits? Like, just a bunch of things, right? And honestly, I did not see that going that way. Like, yes, okay, so I don't even. As you can tell, this video is not scripted. I don't script my videos. I just gonna go at it. So, but okay. But to be honest, I literally knew right off the bat that he murdered his wife because I was like, when they show us him going home and like just looking at his wife and his kid just so depressed, and when he was in with Phil, waiting for Bill to get there to the mental hospital, he just looked so sad. And I was like, this man looks like he's just like 2 seconds away from like just breaking. And then when he went to go like celebrate, he did not look happy. And then the next, like he was just acting way too suspicious. I was like, this man murdered his wife. And then when it came out that he was like, no, I hit her, I'm like, yeah, no, he definitely murdered her. And then when in fact he did, but I did not expect the baby to like, yeah, I did not expect that. But what I also enjoyed is that they really keep you on your toes of like what's happening, like the whole thing of like, is it gonna be supernatural, is it not? And in reality, they're just, and the thing is they basically tell us, like, the fact that they showcase the flashback of him going home so many times. I think it was like around the third or fourth like flashback that I was like, I noticed the peanut butter jar, and I was like, oh my god, it's him. Like, it's him. Like, that's like, it's Gordon. And like, it didn't just occur to me. And then obviously when he stayed over in his van and slept at the mental health um hospital thing, should I call it just a psychiatric, or an insane asylum sounds too like, a psychiatric ward basically. Anyways, technicalities, doesn't matter. But I was like, this man, this just like, first he finds blood on his fingers, he's hurt, like, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't think he was gonna go that way. Now, they basically tell us everything when they have Mike, who is son of a like a general attorney or whatever, and he finds out these case files, and he finds out a woman who has basically dissociative identity disorder. She's dissociating from this very traumatic event, and she has three alters basically, and it just goes like, it's basically telling you right off the bat that Gordon is dissociating from something very traumatic, and he's just completely out of it. And like, the thing is, we're told like little by little that Gordon is already like losing it, and not mentally, just in life. first, the fact that Phil tells Mike that Gordon didn't want a baby, that it was his wife, that that she was the one who wanted the kid, and that he wasn't really into, like that was the thing, and that they lost two jobs because Gordon was lacking. So like all these things started piling up, and on top of that, mentally he was probably also not doing great because babies are stressful, and it all just kind of tumbled, it all kind of domino effect. But yeah, his story was very, not directly because it's obviously different scenarios, but it is related to Mary Hobbs. And the fact that they showcase her basically the whole entire time, like when he's over sitting over her like turned over tombstone, the fact that she was in the A wing, which I was like, oh, that makes sense when you finally find out what she did. But I was impressed. Like I honestly was impressed. I did not see the rest of their deaths in the sense. Like yeah, I thought that Gordon had murdered his wife, but like I said, I thought it was gonna be a psychological thing. I mean, sorry, a supernatural thing, and that they were gonna use Gordon's guilt. But in reality, Gordon had lost his mind. Like he had just dissociated to a point that he was having basically out of body experiences where he didn't remember, where he like even Hank, which oh my god, some of these characters, I'm like, you guys are working in an abandoned insane asylum and you guys are just like walking around like no chill. Like the fact that Hank nighttime in an abandoned place he would go back wearing his headphones is insane to me. And when he's running and he sees like the shadow, that freaked me out so bad. But then it's literally Gordon who basically makes him have a lobotomy, and then Hank is just roaming everywhere until he ends up all the way down there, which we don't really know why. We don't know if Gordon put him down there or what, but he was completely out of it. And Phil, the thing is, you even see the friendship that because at the beginning you can kind of tell that Phil and Gordon have like this like mutual respect. They are friends, but then it just starts completely because you have Phil telling him like, hey, you need to hire this other dude who who's actually competent and who has like knows all the things, versus your nephew Jeff who like yeah he's just a kid who doesn't know anything and we're on a time crunch and we supposed to be able to do this by 3 weeks, but you said 1 week. And then the poor guy, Craig, who like they hire, and then immediately Gordon just murders him. That I was like, that's such a unlucky man. But anyways, and then Phil and him just start falling out, and then he just starts seeing Phil, and apparently Phil smokes pot, which is a problem apparently because he even asks him like, are your performance falling or whatever. It's just this whole thing, and then Phil goes behind his back because he's like, you can't don't tell anyone that I hit you know my wife. And then Phil goes and tells Mike, and he's like, yeah, Gordon is losing it, we need to replace him, we need to blah blah. It was all just at first. Oh, another thing, I thought, was it going to be supernatural, was it going to be psychological, or was it going to be the route of 47 meters down where it's basically psychological in the sense of, is this all because of the asbestos? Because none of them were wearing masks. I mean, in some parts, yeah, they were, but the rest they weren't. I was like, did they just go insane? Did the asbestos just like affect them finally? But like, no. And the thing is, I thought about that it was that because Hank mentions it various times and basically tells Mullet Boy that he should wear a mask because that goes into his lungs. And then he's like, well, I already have a plan out, I have a plan, I have an escape plan, everything's good, blah blah. And I don't get why Mike's fascination with Mary Hobbs, like, I don't get it. I don't get the fascination. I don't get why he was like, why didn't he just take those home? Like, it's not like anyone was gonna want them. um that was kind of just, I feel like, purely for plot purposes. Of course, with Mary's case, you have Simon, who basically says that he is for the weak and the vulnerable, and he basically tells Gordon that, oh, you can hear me, basically telling Gordon that he now is in a weak state mentally, and he just goes and just murders everyone. I mean, he basically murdered Hank, giving him a lobotomy. Then he murders his own nephew, which he didn't even notice. And that poor kid was so afraid of the dark, and he had to like run. It's just so sad. And like he was like, "I won't let you down, Uncle," and then his own uncle killed him. And then Phil finds Hank, which I don't know why he left Hank down there. He's just like, okay, Hank, cool. You told me that Gordon did this to you. Cool. I'm gonna go find him. And then he goes up, and Gordon is in Mary Hobbs' room. And the thing is, they don't really show us if he heard Mike's recordings, but just the fact that he relates to Mary Hobbs and literally placed his pictures all over Mary Hobbs' room, and the fact that Mary Hobbs basically murdered her own brother. I just was like, how does he know this? Is this because, so does it actually have a supernatural aspect because Simon is also in Gordon's brain, or like I was kind of confused at that point. I was like, is this supernatural? Is this not? Because Simon is an alter of Mary, but Simon says that he isn't present in all weak and vulnerable minds. So I guess I don't know, but I liked because obviously some parts were from Gordon's perspective, so obviously you were seeing Gordon's reality. But then when Gordon woke up, when Phil was like, "You Gordon, you need to wake up. You can't call the police because you need to wake up." And then you find out that Phil was basically telling him that Hank told him that you hurt him. Like, what did you do? And then Gordon just kills Phil, kills Mike, kills Jeff, kills Greg, and he's just there. And it's only Friday, so he doesn't really leave the place. He just stays there calling his dead wife, who no one knows that she's dead, and he uses a broken phone and he's up there in that ward until eventually Bill or someone gets there and finds all those bodies. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I was surprised by the ending, but it really was hinted throughout the whole entire you know, movie with Mike figuring out about Mary Hobbs and the peanut butter jar on the floor. I was like, wait a minute. So it was told to us, but it kind of is how Gordon was so paranoid about Phil. I think because he trusted Phil so much, Phil was his like confidant, that losing Phil kind of like just pushed it over the edge, just like pushed him to, because when he finds out that Phil did tell, Mike that he'd hit his wife and that Phil was telling him that we need to get Gordon off and like, just take over ourselves and he's gonna ruin our like the paycheck and the bonus, that's when Gordon just, is like, oh my god, I can't trust him anymore. And that just little piece of, I don't know, stability just disappeared. But I do have a question. Okay, my question is there's a part where Gordon looks like he has this, you know, um, just like epiphany is when he sees Phil like flipping the coin. He's just like, oh my god, the connection, and then he sees the coin that Hank dropped on the floor and he's like, connection. Was that him? Because in his mind he remembers attacking Hank and Hank having those quarters. Is that it? Or like, because then Gordon just completely goes off the rails, doesn't trust Phil, and is like, Phil, you're the one who talked to Amy, you're the one who heard what Amy said about Hank, but no one else did. Like, you did something to Hank, you killed him. Like, was he just like um projecting? Because then he's like, oh no, you come with me, and Phil's like, no, 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 I'm gonna go with the kid mullet head, you're gonna go with Mike. And then Mike, okay, so this is why I was kind of like, what? I mean, at first they were kind of shown to be like not a family, like let's be real, they're not a family, but at least they were like friends, even though Phil and Hank basically did not like each other because Hank stole his girlfriend, but they were, you know, friends or friendly. And then Phil insults Mike by saying that, he's never going to be a lawyer again. He's like in here with the rest of us, throwing or getting asbestos or whatever. And then when this whole thing goes and Gordon is basically saying that Phil has murdered or done something to Hank, and everyone's running around because they hear footsteps upstairs. Who are those footsteps? Is that Hank? Because they don't, because he's whoever that is on the second floor, and Hank ends up being down below, literally in a tunnel, all the way in the corner. So who was upstairs? Just was it Hank? Was it that where I was like, who is that? It's just someone random. I mean, the case was huge, so it could be anyone. But I don't get why Mike did not decide to go with Gordon and just was like, no, I'm going through here. And then he was like, I don't care about this. And then just went back to his recordings. That was kind of weird. I didn't get that. I was like, I mean, clearly, I mean, that was weird. I didn't get that. I mean, clearly it showcased that Mike did not care about anything. He was kind of obsessed with um, Mary and was just like, I mean, he wasn't even working, he wasn't even doing his job. So I was very like confused about that. So those were like the two things where I was kind of like, I was, when they showcased the baby, I was like, I can't believe it's that man. Like the baby. Like I was like, oh my god. But yeah, this movie, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I really liked it. I wasn't terrified. I wasn't like, oh, on the edge of my seat, fear, but I was entertained. And it made me be like, oh, I didn't expect this ending. I can see why some people wouldn't enjoy it because it is slow paced. You know, you're just watching these men work. There's nothing like supernatural about it, and so it's very like, it's more like the deterioration basically. You see that with Gordon, just slowly but surely, just kind of losing it. Not like in the sense of what you think of like yelling and angry. No, he's just like more hopeless, and he's not concentrating, and he's just spacing, and they're just not. None of them are working. Literally none of them. I mean, Phil, yeah, yeah. When he's not getting high, he's working. Mullet head, he's trying his best. But Hank was like, I'm leaving. I've got the money. The fact, and the thing is, I for sure thought when Hank put his hands into that like where they burn bodies, the cremation, I literally thought, oh my god, this is the part where someone's gonna grab his hand and pull it. But no. Nope, nope, nope. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's not scary, like supernatural movie. Mike was not working at all. That man was just listening to tapes for hours, probably. But yeah, it was it was good. It was nice. I enjoyed it, like I said. Honestly, if you don't mind slow-paced movies, I would recommend it. I mean, yeah, I just spoiled it, but but I mean, if you don't care, like I love watching like movie reviews or like explained, like ending explained, even though I've never watched the movie, and then I'm like, you know what, I will watch it. So, so yeah. If you're listening to this, tell me your opinions about Session 9. I don't know why every time, instead of saying Session 9, I think of Spectre 9, and I was like, wait, that's not. Why is this called Session 9, by the way? Oh, yeah, because of the tapes. Never mind. Anyways, yeah. You know, the acting was fine. It was normal. Nothing like groundbreaking or like, oh my god, but it was cool. Um, I think it was a pretty cheap movie because everything was on location. There wasn't like a lot of, they barely showed everyone else's homes or anything. But yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting take. So that's pretty much it. I don't, those are my like questions. Those are the things that I liked about it. Um, Honestly, it would have been cool to see more of the grounds, but again, it was huge. So, but yeah, I liked that it didn't go into the supernatural aspect because I think I haven't seen another movie that doesn't go into the supernatural aspect, so I feel like it was cool to see that in this movie. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say about Session 9. I know it's a pretty short review, but I mean, there's not a lot of happening in the movie. It's mostly just, you know, going and getting stuff and fixing things and putting things in bags and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.